Let's stay in the state of Massachusetts. Let's head over to Chestnut Hill, just down the road in Alumni Stadium, where the Syracuse Orange come into town to take on the Boston College Eagles. 12 p.m. kickoff on the CW network, Brad's favorite TV network out there. Boston College currently favored by this one at home by 2. Going to be a busy, busy weekend up there in northern Massachusetts, where both of these colleges, I believe, are probably within an hour of each other. So going to be a lot of traffic going on in the Boston area. Brad, when you come into this game, though, Syracuse looked very well starting off the season, and then over the last couple of weeks, they've kind of faded away. They had a really, really tough loss against Pitt 2 weeks ago, where the Pitt defense just destroyed Syracuse. And can Kyle McCord bounce back? They're averaging 440 yards of offense per game. Is this a game where we see Syracuse come out on top with an upset, or can Boston College lead the way and take one at home?
Yeah, absolutely, Nate. The intriguing thing to me about this game is we've got 2 first-year head coaches in Fran Brown and Bill O'Brien. And, of course, Bill O'Brien's got some head coaching experience, but his first year at Boston College. And these 2 guys have done a good job. BC coming in at 4-4, but Syracuse at 6-2. And you mentioned the game against Pitt a couple weeks ago where Kyle McCord was just awful. I thought he really had a bounce-back game last week as they upset the Virginia Tech Hokies by 7 in overtime. Very, very intriguing. And guys, this one to me is pretty simple. It's going to come down to the quarterback battle. Thomas Castellanos, who he's a Georgia boy. We're familiar with him. He's from a small town in South Georgia, Ware County. And this guy has got just unbelievable legitimate speed. Can definitely hurt you with his arm, but he makes his money with his legs. And then Kyle McCord, who has been up and down, but I was impressed with how he responded last week. I just think the Syracuse offense is just going to be too much. I guess I'll be honest, it surprised me a little bit that BC is the favorite in this one. I'm going to take the Orange because of Kyle McCord. I'm a really, really big fan of their running back, LaQuint Allen. He is a very, very dynamic playmaker, over 600 yards on the ground, over 300 receiving yards. I just think all the weapons Syracuse has is going to be too much for Boston College. So give me Q's in this one.
Yeah, Brad, this is going to be a close game, regardless of who comes out on top. I think we can expect a very close fourth quarter matchup coming down to the wire, maybe even seeing another overtime like we saw last week with Syracuse. Rooster, I think that's a good segue. Turn it over to you. Thoughts on this game, and can Syracuse come out with the upset?
Well, like y'all both mentioned, it's going to be a close game, but it seemed like towards the beginning of the year, Boston College really came out with their hair on fire, just winning anything and everything. And then they've hit an absolute wall the last couple of weeks. Ever since Castellanos' injury, it seems like they really have not been able to get back on track. And then on the other hand, you've got a Syracuse team that is just loaded on the offensive side of the ball with Gadsden and McCord. And it seems like when Fran Brown came over, he took half of Georgia's receiver room with him, and they've got all the Georgia receivers that hit the portal over there.
Sure.
They've got all them Georgia receivers. So, I mean, they've got the talent to do it. So I just don't see Boston College being able to match Syracuse on the offensive side of the ball. And then you know the saying that home field usually adds about 3 points to your spread. So if we take off the home field advantage, this is virtually a pick 'em. So at the end of the day, it's just who do you think would who's just the better football team? And I'm going to go with the team that has proven that they can consistently do it over the team that has really been struggling the last couple of weeks. I'm going to take the Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, guys, I mean, I think the better question is who's going to have the higher attendance, Harvard or Boston College? I mean, this is going to be an interesting matchup nonetheless. I think Boston College fans are going to show out for this one. But let's look at these 2 stat lines I got here on my handy-dandy notes, as I like to call them. Syracuse has gotten 18 sacks recorded on the year. That's pretty impressive. Another stat line that I like on the other side is Boston College. They've got 11 interceptions on the year. That scares me when we look at Kyle McCord and how dangerous he's been with turning the ball over. He has not looked like himself over the last couple of last couple of weeks. And Last week, they barely got out with a win in overtime. They're exhausted. They had to push a little bit extra. They had to fight a little bit extra. You mentioned the injury to Thomas Castellanos and how much that's affected the Boston College offense. And I think that affects the overall morale of the team. When you have an offensive guy like that who's completing 66% of his passes, 14 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, that makes a big difference when you're stepping out on the field. When we look at Syracuse, they're 30 of 37 in red zone attempts. That's pretty good. So in the end, I'm going to take the Syracuse Orange as well. I've had my fits with Syracuse over the last couple of weeks. They've disappointed me time and time again. I picked against them last week. I lost. I'm picking them this week. We'll see what happens. Probably got y'all a loss on this game because I'm picking them. But in all seriousness, Fran Brown, y'all mentioned it. This just been phenomenal by him. His leadership, emphasizing a relentless mindset. That's been the key to Syracuse's success and how they've been able to bounce back time and time again, even when they've come across adversity. Give me a Syracuse Orange in a close one, but I think Syracuse is going to finish off the year really strong. And I hate it for Boston College, but give me a Syracuse Orange in this one. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, where Syracuse will take on Boston College.